I I've had some exposure to the language growing up when I was a young kid, and I think as I grew older, I was sort of embarrassed when people would ask like about your ability to speak the language. And like a few here, I've attended the community college back in Browning, where the traditional methods, like April was saying, they want you to read it, write it, speak it, think it, and people learn in so many different manners and ways that it isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to this language. And as Sterling was saying, as you get older, it's a lot more complicated to acquire language. So I started this course out of curiosity. I'm like, okay, one, it's my language. Two, I'm a little reluctant because I don't know the method, and methods in the past really haven't worked for me. And going into the classroom and just being completely immersed into the language and having them speak words that you really don't understand yet, but watching their body language or their gestures, you're like, okay, you start to make these little connections between what they're saying and what it means. And without an English translation, like April was saying, you learn it completely in the way it's intended in the Blackfeet language. And for me personally, and I think I've mentioned it to Robert a few times, is that when I leave, most times I'm the only Native American in some of my classes. And it's an amazing feeling Monday, Wednesday, when you walk out of this classroom learning your language. It gives you a sense of identity and purpose in an academic institution that really doesn't foster or cater to your individual traditions or culture. And that's one thing I truly appreciate about it. My dad, he doesn't fluently speak it, although he can after sitting around with people who speak it, but he definitely understands it. And he come over for a visit, and we were eating breakfast, and I was telling him about the course, and I was throwing out a few words to him, and he was just, he's known me my entire life, and he was surprised. He was like, wow, he's like, what are they teaching you in this course? What do you guys do and things like that? And I'm sort of reluctant. One, I don't talk about it outside of the course, so I can't really tell him what the course entails, but just that it's very conventional, it's very different from what I've learned anywhere else. And I'm fortunate to be a part of the course this semester.
I do early education, so I feel for Head Start, the Head Start programs of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. And one difficulty that we have is that there is no language, and the big problem there is you have the tribal college that has every Indian tribe that comes to attend, and I'm trying to figure out a language program or something that will work to move children through a language and that they have some kind of understanding. Like for me, I'm a mutt, so I throw in Cree when I have to, or I fight fire, so I talk to a lot of Native American crews, and so I learn Nez Perce and Crow and all these other things that get incorporated into when I speak. But the importance of this method for me is that I can take this back to wherever I go to teach, and I can use this methodology to move children along that I see, like Jess said, that he started early on, and it's a lot more difficult later on in life to try and take this language. And I've been chewed out enough times, and I know when I'm getting chewed out, usually in Blackfeet, but I don't necessarily pick up on everything, and at the beginning of the class, Robert was always la 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 and going over it over and over, and I'm like, man, I really suck at Blackfeet. And we were at my children's party, and my mom says, well, sit down, let's talk. What are you having problems with? And we didn't speak too much Blackfeet. We talked about other problems I was having. But now I rekindled a relationship with her that now whenever I need any guidance or something, I can say, hey, Mom, what is this? And she'll tell me it back and, write me back on the text messages and stuff. But like with my own children, after doing this for a while, I'll be saying something at the house, and my kids will be like, what's that, Dad? And I'll say it, and they'll say it back to me, and they'll be like, perfect. And I'm like, man, why didn't I get that right away? But their language acquisition is a lot more capable of understanding this language that my children, or my daughter, she does Salish, so they're actually on spring break right now at the Inkusum Immersion School up at Arlee, so they're learning Salish this week, and we'll see how that goes, you know. That's it.
I think starting out as a child in the Cutswood Immersion program is what really helped me grow in my language. You know, I think out of everything in life, my biggest accomplishment is understanding my language and getting the opportunity to learn it for so long. I'm the only person in this class who went to the immersion school, but I encourage other students who went to come and join in this class. I think part of learning a native language class, you gotta nitsitabeek some stat. That's what a teacher would say. You gotta think native, you know, and it's an oral language, and I think slow progression to oral language and the death of it can be caused with a pen and a paper in a desk, you know. Like a lot of people will ask me how to say words and things like this, and my friends, and one of the most frustrating things when they ask me is, well, how do you spell this word? I tell them, we'll spell it with hashtags and a Batman symbol, you know, it's an oral language, it's meant to be spoke, you know. Linguists have come in and chopped it up and created their own writing systems, you know, but they've not fully been accepted by all natives, you know. So, I mean, I work with the linguist every day, and we get into arguments about spelling, and I say, well, it's not the point, you know. A linguist will come in and write a spelling system and then leave, but have no interest in learning the language or passing it on. So that's my goal and my focus is passing it on and carrying it out, you know. So I encourage people, don't worry about the grammar and the structure. That's a linear way of thinking, you know. When it's to speak some stat, we hear it and we flow, we listen, pass down mouth to ear. You know, that's why this class is different from the other classes. It's not structured in a pen and paper way. It's structured on pictures and images in your mind, you know. And you really get the chance to nitsitabeek some stat. It's hard to do when you're using the tools of a non-native, you know. So I think transferring this with the methods that they learn as a child, I think it really has a good acquisition. Especially just starting here instead of a formal classroom, I think this is the method that needs to catch on and take place around other communities, you know. And we need to step up and use our own tools as nitsitabeeks, as native people. We need to use our own ways of teaching and passing things on, and stop being so structured in this way of thinking.